'Cause I live for this, it isn't just a hobby like that. Tuck my napkin in my shirt 'cause I'm just mobbing like that. Oh, what's up, my dudes? Okay, boys, we got us a little bit of Supercross Original, a little bit of Supercross Uno here. I wanted to do a video on this, taking a look back at this game a little bit of a retrospective look at it. Because it's interesting now that we're on, Supercross 69. It's interesting the different opinions I've seen from you guys over the years with these Supercross games. Like, there's a whole portion of people that think the first Supercross game was still the best one. There's a giant portion of people that think Supercross 3 is still the best one. So I thought it was interesting to come back here to Supercross 1 and just take a look at it and kind of talk about it. So my own personal thing is I feel like Supercross 1, it's like it got to where it got to because of substantial, like, let me see how to even explain this. It wasn't so much that it was like this groundbreaking, amazing game. It was more so just the time period that it came out, the kind of milestone games that you had before this first Supercross game. It was circumstantial. I think that's more of the word I was looking for there. That's really what pushed this game to, whatever kind of amazing level that a lot of people think that this game was. The hype around the game was, I still don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it in motocross gaming since I've been doing YouTube. Like, I think before that first Supercross game came out, that was the most hype I have ever seen for any dirt bike game ever. And to be completely honest with you, like, for what it was and the timeline of Milestone's, games and what they had did beforehand, I feel like Supercross 1 is the first Milestone game that had any error physics to it at all, basically. And MXGP3 still to this day has the best terrain deformation of any Milestone game. Still got some of the best, I feel like speed filling, control, a lot of good things were there in the MXGP3 days. But I think what really made Supercross 1 stand out in a sense is because you had never really seen anything like that, error physics-wise from Milestone previously. But, there is no doubt about it that in these Supercross games, they have made advancements with leaning forward and backwards, pop-off systems, air physics, getting away from that super arcade, super easy. I mean, I'm going around this track right here. I literally am not kidding you when I say I could ride around this track with my eyes closed. There's a difference in that, where the physics are so easy to a point where it feels like you're playing like a super arcade game. Oh my God, look at the tough block. Let me get on a different track here. So just an interesting little thing about this first Supercross game. This is actually replicating all the tracks of my favorite year of RF tracks on MX simulators. So I really know the layouts of all these tracks. It's kind of funny when you realize that this is replicating the 17 real-life tracks right here. But yeah, I just think with the first Supercross game, with how easy it was, it's kind of like a curse and a blessing. It's going to really play into the hands of dudes that just want to hop into a Supercross game and not have to really think too much about when they're playing it, just kind of get around the track without ever really crashing or having too much of a chance of crashing, so it really plays into that casual, very, very casual arcade motocross gaming fan. But anybody that wants anything, more out of a arcade motocross game than super, super easy casual, this is really not your kind of game. It's just not, and this is something you need to understand about this first Supercross game. There's a couple of deal breakers for this game for me personally that like keep me from really playing this game, quote unquote, as you would call it, right? And this is something I think they really improved on, especially once they got to like Supercross 3 and Supercross 4. They really started to make it more of a game, more of an actual motocross game, and not feel like some super arcade 5-year-old could get around the track just as good as you could type. You know what I mean? I think they really advanced quite a bit of things going into like Supercross 3 and 4. Those feel so much more of a gameplay like experience to me than this first Supercross game. But I think this game just kind of, it shocked the motocross world, gaming world in a sense, because we haven't had anything like an official Supercross game in so long that I'm just telling you right now, it really didn't even matter how good or bad or easy or you know, casual or basic the gameplay was. It was going to be a success. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. And that's what I was trying to get across to a lot of you guys when this game was first being announced and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people thought this game was going to be basically like what Supercross 3 or 4 is. You know, I think a lot of people thought this game was going to be gameplay-wise to that kind of level back in the day when they first started announcing this game and everything. And I was trying to tell you boys that. I tried to tell them. You know, I knew this game was going to be more of a casual, basic kind of gameplay experience. I mean, just to give you an example right here, you will never pop off of the bike in this game, and I mean never. No matter how much you overjump or underjump something, you're never going to, you know, land so hard that you actually pop off of the bike. That you actually, you know, dismount, crash off of the bike from landing too hard off of something. It's just simply, it doesn't happen in this game, period. You can go overjump the biggest jump in the game, and you're still not going to pop off of that bike. You can underjump the most gnarly quad, peaked out, you know, jump in the entire game, and you're still not going to pop off of the bike. That, personally, for me, is a deal breaker, because when I'm playing a game where I feel like there's no chance for me to crash in, it kind of takes away the entire fun factor for me, personally. It takes away any bit of that real replayability. I got to have some kind of crash mechanic. And you can crash in this game, but it's almost like you got to be trying to crash to get it to crash. You know, you're not going to flip over in the whoops. You're not going to pop off that bike, jumping a 400-foot jump. It's just not going to happen. And I think a lot of people, when they think back to the first Supercross game and they think about how good it was or whatever, they forget about things like that. You know, this is as easy as you will ever make a Supercross game right here. I mean, even if you compare this to like Untamed and Unleashed, I mean, you've got so much more of a potential pop-off in those games. It's not even close. It's not even close. This is what you call like zero skill gap for a Supercross. This just doesn't... This doesn't capture Supercross difficulty, fear, you know, actual obstacle, hitting an obstacle reaction. You're just kind of gliding over everything, no matter how you really hit it. You don't really have to be precise on jumps. You don't have to do any of that. But that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people still have it tricked up in their mind that this first Supercross game was more than what it really was. Again, let me give you another deal breaker example right here. This game, let me leave this right here and show you. This game did not have any free ride content in it at all when it first came out. Absolutely none. A AAA $60 game. Okay? Let me go right here to... You can see the compound down here, but this was paid DLC that was added later. You had to buy this. So when this game first came out, all you had right here was single event, time attack, career, and championship. There was no compound. when in MXGP3 you did have a free ride compound. When the game very first came out, there's simply just no excuse for that right there. And the fact that MXGP3 had a better terrain deformation system than this game, you see what I'm saying? There's some things it's just like, why was that not carried over from MXGP3? It really doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And listen, I totally understand. There's a lot of different kind of motocross gamers out there, okay? We're not all the same level of, like, you know, how serious you want to... Some people just want to chill back, have a Coors Light, you know, Silver Bullet, and play a motocross game or a Supercross game. And I get it. You know, you're not trying to play a simulator. You're not trying to play some difficult game, right? But I just can't help but get that thought of, like, I feel like back in the days of Unleashed and Untamed and Reflex and all those games, they really felt like they were made for everybody. Like, even if you weren't super serious into motocross games, you're, you know, what you call a super casual kind of motocross gamer, you could still have a shitload of fun in Reflex or Untamed or Unleashed. But they were all at least 5 times the skill gap and potential pop-off than this game has right here. This game doesn't even have a pop-off system to it. You see what I'm saying? I feel like this game is not really at that level where it's more so made for everybody. It's just not. I feel like it's made for strictly the super most casual, you know, motocross gamer out there, and that's all it's made for. That's all it's made for. Whereas I feel like when you go to like Unleashed, Untamed, Reflex, Alive, all of those kind of games, those are made for casuals. They're made for, you know, medium level type motocross gamers. They're made for hardcore motocross. You know, you can still have fun in those games. I can still go back, even though I've played a lot of motocross simulators, became a pro racer, all that kind of shit. I can still go back to this day and have a shitload of fun in Unleashed, Untamed, certainly in Reflex, Alive, you know, all those kind of games, because they had that difficulty to them to a certain extent. You know, they had that gameplay element to them to a certain extent where it at least challenged you a little bit. This game just simply does not have that. It just simply does not have that. And at the end of the day, it's like, do I think this is the worst Milestone game? Hell no. I don't think it is. But do I think this is the most overhyped Milestone dirt bike game? Yep, I do think that. I really do think it is the most overhyped one of all of them. And, you know, I think some of you guys have kind of forgotten about how this game really was. I think you remember it in a certain way, but you haven't played it in quite a while. You need to go in there and play like Supercross 3 and 4, and then go back and play this game right here, and you will instantaneously see exactly what I'm talking about, how it's just not as much of a gameplay game. It's so much more of a super arcade, easy, casual, you know, never crash no matter what you do on the bike. And I feel like they basically directly, like, showed what I was talking about that whole time by coming out with Supercross 3 and 4. You know what I mean? Everything I was trying to explain about this game not being, you know, more to that skill gap level and all that kind of stuff, and you know, jump skill gap and difficulty and potential pop off and all that kind of stuff. Like, I still don't think Supercross 3 and 4 are like some, you know, arcade sim hybrid or some super difficult motocross game, but they're more in the range of like that kind of making it for everybody and not just making it for the super casuals. I feel like that's what Supercross 3 and 4 are. They're a little more down that what I expect out of an arcade, AAA arcade motocross game in today's age as far as difficulty and skill gap and everything like that. Whereas Supercross 1, I'm telling you, it was strictly for the casuals, the super casuals. And I'm not saying you can't still go back and goof around and have a little bit of fun in this game, because you definitely still can do that, but that's like with any super casual game, you know? You can feel like you're James Stewart in the game the first lap playing the game, so it kind of makes you feel good, kind of makes you, you know, feel like you're having a little bit of fun in the game, and with the speed of this game as well, it kind of has that feeling to it too, but I just don't feel like there's any real longevity, and there's not a whole lot of depth to the gameplay of this game. This was also back when they had the whip system, where it was literally hitting a button and playing the exact same animation over and over and over. That animation right there. And you can't turn both your thumbsticks the same direction to whip like you do in every other motocross, Supercross game, right? They started adding that in there like Supercross 3, I think. They finally gave you that option to turn your sticks the same direction to whip, but that's not how it is in this game. It still has that old school Milestone. You have to turn your thumbsticks the opposite directions. And not only that, but I mean, it plays that exact... I mean, it's to the point where it literally... I'm not even kidding you when I say... They could have put... Let me get on a bigger jump track here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so watch when I whip over this jump right here. It's going to do that exact same animation no matter how you turn those thumbsticks, no matter how you... Even in the newer Milestone games, even when you turn both your thumbsticks opposite directions like that, it'll still do like a little bit of a variation to it. You know, it'll kind of vary it just a little bit depending on how you lean, you know, those micro movements you make with the thumbstick before you come off the jump face. But it didn't do that at all in this first Supercross game. You literally could have had the whip button on like the fucking A button or the B button on the controller, and it would have done the exact same thing. This is like your kind of whip system you had in the Mud. You know, the Mud Milestone game, if any of you guys remember that game. That game literally was where you hit a button and it plays a whip animation. But it's what I'm trying to get at, it's the same thing in this game. You're just turning your thumbsticks instead of hitting the button. There is absolutely zero variation to it at all. I'm talking zero, bro. Zero. Zero variation to the whip system, zero pop-off system to coming up shorter over-jumping stuff, which is it's a cardinal sin for a Supercross game. There's a couple of things to this game that are actual cardinal sins to making a Supercross game. Look at this. I can bounce off the tough blocks and still live. Oh, man. But like the whoops... When I say zero skill gap to the whoops in this game, I mean zero. This is not, you know what I mean? It's so hard to explain that some people don't really understand, like, arcade motocross gaming. Like, you can go back to Unleashed, Untamed, you know, some of these other games, and I'm not saying they had a crazy amount of, like, skill gap or potential pop-off or like, you know, crazy whip systems or whatever, but they weren't as basic as this. They weren't as... I don't even know any other way to explain it than that, but I feel like this first Supercross game, it really comes down to that, like, if you don't really understand motocross games, you're going to think this is amazing. But if you do really understand motocross games, you're going to realize this game is not really what it's cracked up to be. You know what I mean? It's not really to that level that they made it out to be in those early trailers and the hype that was around the game. It was never going to be able to meet up to that. And I think a lot of people thought it was going to be able to be at that level, but this is certainly not the end-all, be-all to a Supercross game or whatever. And like, if this game would have come out and it had the physics system of like Supercross 3, then you could have said I was completely wrong about it, but it didn't. You know what I mean? If it would have had the pop-off system and the whip system of even just Supercross 3 when this game first came out, you could have called me completely wrong about everything I was saying about this game, but it just simply wasn't to that kind of level. You know, it just wasn't. There's just certain things to this game that completely limits it from being some legendary, motocross game or some legendary replayable, some of the lowest amount of content you've ever had in any Milestone game ever. Of course, now you got to remember, this is the first Milestone game that had a track editor. So that's another thing that kind of, that was an amazing thing that they added to this game. But again, just having a track editor in the game doesn't mean the gameplay was amazing. It doesn't mean the gameplay was like some, next level, oh my God, it's so great kind of gameplay. But I think from what Milestone had done previously, that's what I was saying at the beginning of this video, kind of the circumstantial shit with this game, with what Milestone had gone through previously, it made this game seem like it was way better than what it actually was, gameplay-wise. You know what I mean? And graphics, awesome. That's never been a question about these Milestones. Graphics, awesome. I love the menus of this game. I like the menus and certain things with the like HUD and UI and stuff like that. I like it better in this game than it was in like a lot of those newer MXGP games. Those are fucking terrible. They did do some things good in this game. They really did, but I feel like it would have been so cool if this game would have had like a mixture of this kind of physics system and like Supercross 3 or something, if you could imagine that sort of mix in your head, that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool. But yeah, I mean, this game, like as far as track scaling, stuff like that, is definitely down that 1-to-1 scaling vein. And even if you made the whoops bigger or you made the jumps bigger, it ain't gonna make that much of a difference gameplay-wise in this game because of how casual, arcadey the physics really are of this game. This is like some of the most when I say a game has arcadey physics to it, this is pretty much the maximum of what I mean when I say that. You know what I mean? I feel like you could play this game like a 5-year-old could play this game on mouse and keyboard. I mean, that's how much I literally feel like this game is arcadey. It is the most arcadey Supercross game. It's almost into that mobile kind of dirt bike game feeling. If you've ever went in there and played some of those before, you know how arcadey those feel. They're easy to play. They're pick up and play like they're nothing. That's what this first Supercross game really feels like to me. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is Milestone's like worst work for its time, but personally, I just don't think it really lived up to the hype for the real dirt bike gamers out there. You know what I mean? It just didn't live up to that kind of hype. Again, it probably did live up to the hype of the people that just watch Supercross on TV and just pick this game up for the shits and giggles, or the people that aren't super into gaming, aka the super casual, gamers out there. It probably did live up to the hype for those people, right? But what I'm saying is, this ain't no unleashed, untamed, reflex, alive type gameplay. It's just simply not that kind of gameplay. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm not in here complaining about this game. I'm just saying this is what I was trying to tell you boys before this game ever even came out. I think a lot of you guys, you had it in your head like it was going to be the gameplay of what Supercross 3 and 4 ended up being. I think a lot of you guys thought that this game was going to be to that level, and it just simply wasn't. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a couple of bigger lines I could be hitting in this game, but I haven't played this game in forever, bro. I had to go download it on Steam again. I didn't even have it downloaded. But yeah, it's just, man, I don't know. Zero loss of momentum when you come up short on something. I'm talking zero. Let me see if I can purposely come up short on this triple right here, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Watch this right here. Boom. coming up short on a Supercross triple, in real life when like Justin Barcia is bleeding from the face when he comes up short on a Supercross triple, or those boys that literally bounce off of the bike to the moon. But in this game, it's as if you didn't even land on anything. You're literally floating on a cloud through this entire game. When you go through the whoops, or you hit a jump, or you come up short on a jump, or you whatever. I mean, this is as most of a what you would call cloud arcadey disconnect from the ground kind of feeling. That's what I consider an arcadey feeling to a motocross or a Supercross game, when it feels like you don't really feel anything. You're not really feeling that bike react when it goes over whoops, or when it comes up short on something. You're not actually feeling anything. And that's really, at the end of the day, I feel like what makes this game feel so arcadey like that. But yeah, this is the most arcadey Supercross game that I think there ever will be, which is, it's all in how you want to look at it. But I really don't believe this game was as amazing as some people remember it as, because I think it's very easy to get complacent over the years, and you kind of forget, like, all of these different things that I've explained in this video. You forget how that really was in this game. And I feel like Supercross 3 and 4, they're just better games. They're just better gameplay experiences. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, this game was cool for its time, for a minute, for a split second. It was cool when it first came out. But, like, I just don't see any sort of long-term longevity, super replayability. I just don't see any of that to this game. I really don't. Because of how arcadey it really is at the end of the day. But yeah, nonetheless, just want to get in here and talk about that a little bit in this video. I'm not saying you can't like this game. I'm not saying you can't go back and play it. I'm not saying you can't like certain elements of, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I think some people need to be reminded from time to time what this game really was and what it wasn't. You know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying, bro? But this game basically proved everything I was saying in those rant videos that I made before this game ever came out. And especially now that the fact that you've got more of all of those things that I was talking about that this game should have had or it needed. Now that you've kind of gotten that with Supercross 3 and 4, it proves everything I was saying about this game, dude. I swear to God it did. It proved everything I was saying about it. But again, Milestone had to start somewhere with their Supercross games, I guess you could say. But, and I can understand that sort of outlook on it as well. But at the end of the day, I just feel like Supercross 1 is... I just don't think it's as, iconic and legendary, especially when you go back and play it now. Like, I can still go back, like I'm saying, and play Unleashed, Untamed, Reflex, Alive, all those other kind of dirt bike games, and their gameplay is just so much more timeless than this is right here. This doesn't really feel like timeless gameplay to me. I feel like when we go back and play this, once we get to like Supercross 6 and 9, giggity, you're going to go back and play this game right here and you're going to be like, wow, this gameplay was kind of a joke. It was kind of a joke, really, at the end of the day. And I feel like that's really what it's going to feel like at the end of the day when you come back and play this game, years down the road. It's not going to be like going back and playing a Unleashed or an Untamed or something like that, It's just not going to be like that, bro. But nonetheless, yeah, I think Supercross 1 is kind of in that weird stage of like, I don't know. It just, the most hyped Milestone game that there ever will be. I believe that. But it was like, it did make some improvements from MXGP3. It did. But then there was other things that it just didn't even carry over from MXGP3, which was really stupid. But, at the end of the day, I don't know. I put Supercross, the first Supercross game, somewhere in that like middle of the road, painfully average kind of rating on it, and I still stand behind that to this day. I can't remember what I actually gave this on a review back in the day. I probably gave it like a 5 or a 6 or something like that. But that's kind of still where I stand for this game. And you know, all of the reviews from a lot of people probably would have said this game was like a 9 or a 10, but the real reality of it is it's more like a 5 or a 6. At the end of the day, it's more like a 5 or a 6, man. But yeah, nonetheless, I think a lot of people, like I said, I think they've kind of forgotten what this game really was. You need to go play 3 and 4 and then go right back to this game. Again, it's all in the kind of motocross gamer that you are. You know, it's all in how casual or not casual you are. But again, it goes back to that original point I was making of like, this is super casual. This ain't just a little bit casual or like, you know, got some casual elements. This is like the most casual you could make gameplay to a Supercross game. Literally. Either way, boys. Appreciate you guys watching all the videos. We're going to pop these things off, baby. We're popping off in 22. We're going to keep that ball rolling. And I'm rolling. And I'm rolling. Deep pockets and find my phone. And now we rolling.